Welcome back to another episode of Dentistry's Growing with Grace podcast. Join Grace and her guest of the week as they discuss lessons learned in the industry and explore unique insights into ethical growth.
Hi, I'm Grace Rizza, CEO of Identity Dental Marketing, and I have been helping dentists grow their practices for many years. I started my marketing agency in 2009, and I have seen it all. I have seen the struggling startup. I have seen the seemingly overnight success. I've seen the acquisition process. And every kind of transition of a dental practice that you could imagine. I've probably worked to facilitate a marketing plan to help the owner or the new owner of the practice succeed. And in this process, and having seen so many different stories for so many years, I've seen a lot of misconceptions, especially around the startup practice. So today I'm going to be going over those misconceptions and how they can seriously damage your business, and try to give you a dose of reality today as to what to actually expect. Before I do that, I want to say that there are a lot of people lying on the internet. And by lying, I mean telling half truths and leaving out important information. A lot of times you are made to feel like the day that you open your doors, you should be booming with new patients and they should be knocking down your doors to get into your schedule. And you need to be careful with these expectations, because in reality, building a startup business is hard and it requires planning, it requires knowledge, it requires experience. I'm going to share as much of that with you today as I possibly can so that you can start a practice and grow it to be a success in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of money, but without having totally and completely unrealistic expectations, because those unrealistic expectations will work against morale. It will work against you, and it will actually affect you in a negative way, worse than if you had realistic expectations. So here we go. First, a lot of people think that if you hire a marketing agency, or if you hire the best marketing agency, that your work is done. That all you have to do is hire a marketing agency and they are going to take care of lead generation. This is simply not true. There's a lot more that goes into success in any kind of business than marketing. Marketing is a piece of the pie. It's an important piece of the pie, but it is not the whole pie. You could have calls coming into your practice, but they might not be the right types of patients for your practice. You could have someone who's answering the phones who doesn't really understand sales. And I know right now, half of you or more are cringing in the S word because you don't want to be salespeople. Let's pause for a second and think about what that word means. Sales is just simply helping people want the dentistry that they need. It's nothing more, it's nothing less, and it does not require being pushy, being aggressive, lying to people. And so make sure that you and your team are on the same page with what that means. And if you need to call it something else, conversion, buy-in, believing in the business, understanding why patients choose us and love us and stay loyal to us, whatever you want to call it is fine with me, but you've got to make sure that your team can convert. You've got to make sure that your marketing and sales process works together. So what does this look like? Well, when you start a marketing campaign or start marketing a new business, there's three buckets. The first bucket is your branding, your foundation. This is, what is the name of your practice? What do you stand for? How is your business presented online and in real life? What message are you putting out to the world? This foundational marketing simply legitimizes your business. It doesn't make or break your business. I had someone say to me once, well, Grace, I spent thousands on my website and I didn't get a return on that investment. Building a website alone is not going to drive a tangible return on investment. You have to improve its rankings, drive more visibility to the website. It's not a situation in all markets where if you build it, they will come. Some of the things that these people that are bragging on the internet are not telling you, it's two main things. They're not telling you what they truly spent in their ad spend. They're not telling you that their rich dad is paying for their $10,000 ad spend. They're also not telling you what their offers are for new patients. I met a guy once who, as a startup, bragged all over the Facebook groups and told everybody how successful he was and how great he was. 6 months later, I had a conversation with him. I remembered his very, proud posts. And I said, "Why are you calling me? You've done so great. Why do you need marketing?" And he said, "Well, these patients aren't staying." And of course, my next question was, "What did you offer them to come to your practice in the first place?" And he said, "A $75 Amazon gift card." This isn't how I recommend that you market your practice to have quality patients who support you and refer to you. So, when you hire a marketing agency as a startup or a new business owner, you first need to get your foundation built correctly. Custom coded website is going to be best for SEO, making sure that the imagery that you choose makes sense. I see websites where people are marketing cosmetics, but they choose stock photos of people with awful teeth, and it just doesn't align. There's a lot of obvious things that you shouldn't do in marketing, but there's a lot of subtle things that you need to consider that you probably have never even thought about. And the tough part here is every marketing plan is unique. Every plan takes into consideration your market, the level of competition in regards to digital marketing in your market. You might only have 10 dentists in town, but all 10 are vying aggressively for top three positions on Google. And so that's going to change how we set your expectations for results when it comes to SEO, or how much you need to spend when it comes to your Google ads to really see a meaningful impact on your business. So we'll walk you through all of that, and we'll do the analyzing for you so that you know what to expect. But you have to be careful not to listen to the masses, because they will make you think that it's quick and easy and simple, and you'll have more new patients than you know what to do with. But the reality is, that's not the reality. All right, the next misconception I see is that people will call me and say, "What's your startup program?" I don't have a one size fits all approach to marketing. That would be like me going to the dentist saying, "Give me the standard treatment plan." Anything that's worth doing is worth doing right. And we need to analyze your individual circumstances. What is the ideal new patient for you? What marketing is already working for you? What is the low-hanging fruit? What is going to bring you the ideal new patient? And or how much is that going to cost? And is it worth it for you to invest that amount for that type of patient and that specific quantity that's estimated? And so, because I've been doing this for so long, I can tell if you invest X, you're going to get Y. But the reason I don't give those general figures is because it varies market to market, practice to practice. One practice could be across the street from another, and they could have different marketing needs because of how Google views the town and the city limits. And so so much goes into this. Some people need Google ads and some people don't. It's true. I have some clients who are perfectly content on the new patient flow that they get on SEO alone, or they run social media ads because they want to keep their reputation in the community. They want to keep top of mind, and they're happy with the number of new patients that they're seeing from that brand building or reputation building campaign paired with their word of mouth marketing. So not every kind of marketing is lead generation focused. There is a different bucket here that has to do with how people perceive your business. And also, it has to do with education. So, a lot of times when I talk to someone who's like a biological dentist, or they're really educated in sleep apnea, or they pay a great deal of attention to detail with their cosmetic dentistry and their approach to cosmetic dentistry, or maybe they're minimally invasive. And these are ways of doing dentistry that you need to educate your community. This is how we do things. This is why it's different. And you're not going to be able to achieve that in most cases without social media video ads where you're pushing your message out to people, not waiting for them to search and find you. So, in our agency, in Identity Dental Marketing, we have different types of campaigns for different types of practices, depending on competition levels, services that you're wanting to offer, and prioritizing your needs. A lot of times I'll go into a practice and my first goal is to just stabilize cash flow. It's just to stabilize the general new patient numbers so that we have consistency and we can pay our bills and all the doctors and hygienists are fed. And then we go into, well, how are we going to now drive Invisalign cases or cosmetics or whatever it may be? So sometimes there's a 2 or 3 phase process to build your ideal marketing program. And this is because when you go into marketing for the first time and you invest in 2, 3, 4 different types of marketing services, it's hard to sometimes gauge how they're moving the needle and how they're working to grow your practice. And then people 6 months later go, but do I really need this thing? And they don't always value that brand exposure, that reputation building, because they don't realize it's driving the bigger cases. So I like to go in phases so that people aren't going from no marketing to investing thousands and thousands of dollars a month, which puts pressure on everyone to get overnight results. That's not how marketing works. It usually ramps up over 3 to 6 months if you have a viable spend. Um, and so we'll give you all these options. We'll talk about the specifics for your practice. So don't go into it closed-minded saying, I want to quote for XYZ. Go into it and let me guide you by asking the right questions to assess your individual needs and give you a plan that makes sense for you, that doesn't have waste in it. That's not wasting your marketing dollars. All right. Other people say, as long as I like how the website looks, it will perform well. That's totally false. There are a lot of web builders out there right now that produce a ton of bloated code. And although the sites look beautiful, the client ends up spending 10, 15, 20 grand on this top of the line website and it kills their SEO. So it's not just about the aesthetics of the website. You also have to consider, how is this website going to perform on Google? And you can't just look at the rankings of the marketing agency on Google. You have to actually look at the rankings of their clients to see if they have what it takes to compete. Another thing I recommend is avoiding stock photos. However, if you're a startup practice and your business isn't built yet and you don't have a photo video shoot done yet, you're not going to for a few months, it's better to have a website live and generating momentum and generating history and growing in the rankings if possible, even before you have custom photography and videography for the website. We can always update those photos and videos later and no additional charge. So try to save your perfectionism for clinical dentistry and realize that in business, done is better than perfect, although we want it done and we want it done right and we want it done well. At the same time, we can't agonize over assets, photos, videos that you're not comfortable getting yet. And we're not magicians. So you've got to have realistic expectations for your support team. You're going to have realistic expectations for your employees as well. And this is the whole mindset shift when you become a business owner. All right, so let's recap a little bit here. Low competition or underserved markets can get by with local networking and some do-it-yourself social media. They may not need as much marketing beyond the foundational stuff and maybe a little bit of lead generation stuff. If you're doing a startup in a really competitive market, you need to either be doing something very different, very bold, that's going to help you stand out and lure new patients to you, or you need to have a pretty penny saved to have a high position through Google Ads and be educating your community on some differentiators in your practice. So I love this important tip I'm going to share with you. Success exists in the intersection of your skill, your interest, and demand in your market. You should write that down. Success lives in the intersection of your skill, what you're truly good at, your passion, what you love, and what there is a demand for. And if you have two out of the three, it's usually going to be a difficult climb to make that business successful. All right. Um, a lot of people think that if you put out an offer that you're going to be cheapening the profession. I'm not big on offers. I'm not big on price-driven offers, but I am big on loss leaders. I do think people should get the opportunity to have a free consult with you, even if it's over the phone, even if it's virtual on Zoom or some other video platform. I do think they should be able to meet you and ask you questions before they spend hundreds of dollars in an exam to become a patient of record. So if you are offering cosmetic dentistry, implant dentistry, Invisalign, you've got some bigger ticket items. You should be offering free consultations, and even better would be free virtual consultations. The key here is to minimize or eliminate that barrier between the patient and getting to know you and having that one-on-one interaction with you and with your team. I have a whole course on this. If you go to identitydental.com/courses, you could see my different courses, but I do have a great course on virtual consults that will immediately increase your case acceptance, your big case acceptance, if it's implemented properly. I definitely recommend investing in that. If you want a high quality patient, you need to get ready to spend more money on the acquisition fee. You cannot invest $1,000 or $2,000 and expect in most markets that you're going to get full arch cases. You've really got to be more, if you're in the ad space, I'm not talking organic, but if you're in the ad space, you've got to be investing more like 10 grand in most markets to be making a dent and having consistent lead generation for all on X dentistry for implant keywords. So really, really important you understand that not all marketing campaigns cost the same amount or have the same expectations, but your marketing company should be laying out these expectations for you before you sign up with them. They should not just be painting the prettiest picture and telling you whatever you want to hear. They should be grounding you and telling you what their actual experiences have been in a minimum viable spend. So I see a lot of clients, they meet me, they meet three other marketers, and the other marketers overpromise. And eventually, when they're just ready for something that works, they're ready for honesty, they usually reconsider me. And I'm fine with that. Your ads are not going to convert just because you spend money. There's a little bit of burden on you and on us to inform you that we need more than just an ad. We need real photography that connects with the patient. We need social proof, which can come in the form of Google reviews, patient video testimonials. When you have these assets, everything else performs better because the patient or prospective patients can see that you've done this before and they see that you're good at what you do. Online scheduling can increase conversion by 25 to 30%. So if you're like, I don't want to lose control over my schedule, you don't have to. These online scheduling software have gotten very dialed in. They've given a lot of control over when you open up these appointments and even what kind of appointments you allow. You might just allow new patient appointments with online scheduling, and you might make them the last appointment of the day. This way, if they don't show, everyone goes home, but you have something open every day for new patients. It's another issue I see is people invest in marketing, but they don't have anywhere to put new patients, and the office team isn't really trained or equipped to convert these new patients. And so they tell them, oh, it's going to be months before we can see you. And then they get no shows. Well, why do you think? Right? You've got to get new patients in within the next couple weeks for them to show up and become a great part of your practice. So your front office team is really the key to conversion. If you do want additional training, I have resources for this. I can make a referral to you. It's very important that the marketing agency isn't the entity that's training your team. And I know you're probably going, well, why is that? The dynamic that it creates is completely toxic. What happens is the marketing company is being paid to promote you and, in some instances, generate leads. And if your front office team cannot convert those leads, the marketing company is going to say, oh, it's your team. Your team's the problem. And your team is going to say, it's the marketing company. These leads are low quality. They're not converting. And to have a third party person in there that's listening to the calls with the goal of increasing conversion allows for a non-biased party to say, well, yeah, the leads are low quality. They're all calling for free, cheap, or Medicaid, and we don't do free, cheap Medicaid dentistry. So how are we going to fix this with the marketing company? But if it is the marketing company, you're going to get the same line. You're going to get, well, your team can't convert. And that's a problem because in some instances, the marketing is actually not generating a viable lead. And if it's not generating a viable lead, you have to change up either your messaging, your offer, your keyword strategy, or your marketing company. Perhaps they don't know how to optimize an ad campaign with negative keywords and they're wasting your money on irrelevant searches. I don't know. Um, Another misconception with startup practices is that I can keep my full-time associate position and slowly build up my patient list. I'll just work on the weekends, 1 or 2 days a week until I'm busy enough to add more days. This is a very risky move. It feels not risky because you're still keeping your paycheck from your associate job. But in reality, it takes a lot more than turning the lights on once or twice a week to grow a dental practice. You need to market yourself. You need to be in local Facebook groups. You need to be networking with local businesses. You should probably be advertising, investing in your organic footprint as well. But you need to appear open and you need to be able to convert leads. I would argue that it is in most business owners' benefit to get to 3.5 clinical days in your own business as quickly as you can. And if you can, if you have a little, saving, if you can go all in your practice, it's going to be successful quicker. So people don't want to walk by or see the lights off. People don't want to see that you're closed. New patients don't don't want to wait for that new appointment, especially if you're advertising for emergencies and services that are going to require time-sensitive treatment. Um, and lastly, a lot of people think that the business name doesn't have any impact on the results of their digital marketing campaign. Oh, I picked this cool word which doesn't exist in the English language, but I made it to mean this and it's unique and therefore I love it because it's unique. And I applaud you. There is some branding knowledge behind a person who makes a decision like that. However, you also want to consider again level of competition and how is Google going to prioritize this name? Will they prioritize this name? And will it cut it in this market to benefit from being found organically? People don't realize that a marketable name could mean that they save $3,500 every month forever on ad spend because they are so prioritized by Google because they strategically chose a business name. So talk with me. I'll evaluate your market. I'll give you some insight as to what to consider based on your individual circumstances, the type of patients you're looking to attract, the type of brand you're looking to build. And I'd be more than happy to do this at no charge to just help you get a realistic idea of what it's going to take in your market. This is a no pressure conversation. There is almost no follow up for me. It is just that I want to see you make the right decisions from the beginning and not have to start over every year, every 6 months with a new marketing agency because you just didn't understand how it works. So if you're interested in that, you can visit identitydental.com. You can book with me at no charge. And I'd be happy to do an evaluation, come up with a custom plan, and go from there. And if you are embarking on a startup dental practice, just know it's harder than anyone's told you, especially if you're in a saturated market and you need guidance beyond the chatter of bragging colleagues in the Facebook groups, because some of them are telling the truth. 98% of the time, it's a half truth. 98% of the time, you don't have the whole picture as to how they got there. And let me just leave you with this. There are two different kinds of people in this world. There are the kinds of people who will find a problem to every solution, and there are people who will find multiple solutions to any given problem. In business, you've got to be solution oriented. You've got to put your perfectionism aside. You've got to learn how to make good decisions quickly, to keep pressing forward, and to not dwell on sunk costs. If you've been through this marketing journey and it has left you defeated, it has left you feeling like you're never going to be able to trust someone to help you again, that mentality isn't going to serve you, and you likely are someone who needs the help more than anyone else. So if I can help you, I'm here. I hope this information was helpful to someone, and I hope you have a great day.